Welcome to our Daily Portions with WIT Ministries. My name is Matt Russell, and I'm the Ministry Director at WIT Ministries. For more information about our ministry, you can go to our website at pursuitfortruth.com. That is pursuitfortruth, all spelled out.com. For today's portion, it is Ezekiel 40. Vision of the man with the measuring rod. In the 25th year of our exile, at the beginning of the year, on the 10th of the month, in the 14th year after the city was taken, on that same day, the hand of the Lord was upon me, and he brought me there. In the visions of God, he brought me into the land of Israel and set me on a very high mountain. And on it, to the south, there was a structure like a city. So he brought me there, and behold, there is a man whose appearance was like the appearance of bronze, with a line of flax and a measuring rod in his hand, and he was standing in the gateway. The man said to me, Son of man, see with your eyes, hear with your ears, and give attention to all that I'm going to show you, for you have been brought here in order to show it to you. Declare to the house of Israel all that you see. Measurements relating to the temple. And behold, there was a wall on the outside of the temple all around, and the man's hand was a measuring rod of 6 cubits, each of which was a cubit and a handbreadth. So he measured the thickness of the wall, 1 rod, and the height 1 rod. Then he went to the gate which faced east, went up its steps, and measured the threshold of the gate, 1 rod in width. And the other threshold was 1 rod in width. The guard room was 1 rod long and 1 rod wide, and there were 5 cubits between the guard rooms. And the threshold of the gate by the porch of the gate facing inward was 1 rod. Then he measured the porch of the gate facing inward, 1 rod. He measured the porch of the gate, 8 cubits, and its side pillars, 2 cubits. And the porch of the gate was faced inward. The guard rooms of the gate toward the east numbered 3 on each side. The 3 of them had the same measurement. The side pillars also had the same measurement on each side. And he measured the width of the gateway, 10 cubits, and the length of the gateway, 13 cubits. There was a barrier wall, 1 cubit wide in front of the guard rooms on each side, and the guard rooms were 6 cubits square on each side. He measured the gate from the roof and the one guard room to the roof of the other, a width of 25 cubits from one door to the door opposite. He made the side pillars 60 cubits high. The gate extended round about to the side pillar of the courtyard. From the front of the entrance gate to the front of the inner porch of the gate was 50 cubits. There were shuttered windows looking toward the guard rooms and toward their side pillars within the gate all around, and likewise for the porches. And there were windows all around inside, and on each side pillar were palm tree ornaments. Then he brought me into the outer court, and behold, there were chambers, and a pavement made for the court all around. 30 chambers faced the pavement. The pavement, that is the lower pavement, was by the side of the gates, corresponding to the length of the gates. Then he measured the width from the front of the lower gate to the front of the exterior of the inner court, 100 cubits on the east and on the north. As for the gate of the outer court, which faced the north, he measured its length and its width. It had 3 guard rooms on each side, and its side pillars and its porches had the same measurement as the first gate. Its length was 50 cubits, and the width 25 cubits. Its windows and its porches and its palm tree ornaments had the same measurements as the gate which faced toward the east, and it was reached by 7 steps, and its porch was in front of them. The inner court had a gate opposite the gate on the north, as well as the gate on the east, and he measured 100 cubits from gate to gate. Then he led me toward the south, and behold, there was a gate toward the south, and he measured its side pillars and its porches according to the same measurements. The gate and its porches had windows all around like those other windows. The length was 50 cubits, and the width 25 cubits. There were 7 steps going up to it, and the porches were in front of them, and it had palm tree ornaments on each side pillars, 1 on each side. The inner court had a gate toward the south, and he measured from gate to gate toward the south 100 cubits. Then he brought me to the inner court by the south gate, and he measured the south gate according to those same measurements. Its guard rooms also. Its side pillars and its porches were according to those same measurements, and the gate and its porches and windows all around it was 50 cubits long and 25 cubits wide. There were porches all around, 25 cubits long and 5 cubits wide. Its porches were toward the outer court, and palm tree ornaments were on its side pillars, and its stairway had 8 steps. He brought me into the inner court toward the east, and he measured the gate according to those same measurements. Its guard rooms also, its side pillars and its porches were according to those same measurements. And the gate and its porches had windows all around. It was 50 cubits long and 25 cubits wide. Its porches were toward the outer court, and palm tree ornaments were on its side pillars on each side, and its stairway had 8 steps. Then he brought me to the north gate, and he measured it according to those same measurements, with its guard rooms, its side pillars, and its porches. And the gate had windows all around. The length was 50 cubits, and the width 25 cubits. Its side pillars were toward the outer court, and palm tree ornaments were on its side pillars on each side, and its stairway had 8 steps. A chamber with its doorway was by the side pillar at the gates. There they rinsed the burnt offering. In the porch of the gate were 2 tables on each side, on which to slaughter the burnt offering, the sin offering, and the guilt offering. On the outer side, as one went up to the gateway toward the north, were 2 tables, and on the other side of the porch of the gate were 2 tables. 4 tables were on each side next to the gate, or 8 tables on which they slaughter sacrifices. For the burnt offering, there were 4 tables of hewn stone, a cubit and a half long, a cubit and a half wide, and 1 cubit high, on which they lay the instruments with which to slaughter the burnt offering and the sacrifice. The double hooks, 1 handbreadth in length, were installed in the house all around, and on the table was the flesh of the offering. From the outside to the inner gate were chambers for the singers in the inner court, one of which was at the side of the north gate, with its front toward the south, and one at the side of the south gate facing toward the north. He said to me, "This is the chamber which faces toward the south, intended for the priests who keep charge of the temple. But the chamber which faces toward the north is for the priests who keep charge of the altar. These are the sons of Zadok, who from the sons of Levi come near to the Lord to minister to him." He measured the court, a perfect square, 100 cubits long and 100 cubits wide, and the altar was in front of the temple. Then he brought me to the porch of the temple and measured each side pillar of the porch, 5 cubits on each side. And the width of the gate was 3 cubits on each side. The length of the porch was 20 cubits, with its width 11 cubits. And at the stairway by which it was ascended were columns belonging to the side pillars, 1 on each side. So that's a lot of information to really just kind of figure out why. God, why are you putting this in here? Why are you showing this to Ezekiel? What's the point? Well, there's a few big points here, but they're also subtle points. One would be the fact, just for our knowledge, I want you to realize the hand breadth is the width of your hand. That's a hand breadth. And a cubit is 6 hand breadths. For most people, that would be the distance from your elbow pit all the way up to your fingertips. And you would have 6 hand breadths, making fingertip into your elbow as a cubit. So measuring that out, not everybody's perfectly that way. The man's cubit would be that length. So if I were to make you a table as a carpenter, I would measure it by my cubits. Same thing for Noah when he was building the ark. The cubits which he used were based off of his hand breadths, creating that cubit. However, here's this fun little secret that's in there. Whenever God asked, as an example, Noah to build, he said, "I want you to build the ark with the measurement of a cubit being 6 hand breadths plus 1 more hand." So the measurement that God gave Noah was his cubit plus 1 more hand breadth. So it was just beyond his cubit with 1 additional hand. You see that again as they're told to build the temple. You see that again when they're told to build things like the tabernacle. You can see that the direction for the rod, which you're supposed to use as 1 cubit, you need to add an additional hand breadth. So right now they're going through and they're looking at this temple and how it's only built with the 6 hand breadth cubit, not a 7th. Now the temple was built, torn down, rebuilt. Solomon's temple was built with these 7 handbreadth cubits. This temple that they're going through is not. The temple that Solomon built, when it was destroyed, they went through, and yes, there's a fire, they did all this stuff, they burned up stuff, but they then buried it. They buried it under the ground. And in fact, right now, they have been for a long time, but they are under the Temple Mount, the Temple on the Rock. They're under that, excavating underneath the Golden Dome, and they have gotten all the way down to Solomon's temple level. And they are clearing out and excavating Solomon's temple, which that is something that is prophesied in the Bible. They say that the temple will be rededicated. And we look at, so they're going to rebuild it, which means the first thing that has to go away is we have to get rid of that golden dome. No, not necessarily, because that golden dome is sitting on top of Solomon's temple. We just need to excavate Solomon's temple. But the whole thing with Ezekiel here and showing him with this temple is temporary. Everything in it, all the measurements, it's temporary. So when you go in the future and you're trying to search for Solomon's temple, as they're digging, when they get through and measure out the temple, they can see the difference between a 7th hand and a 6 hand breadth cubit. So Solomon's temple is bigger just in scale by 1 handbreadth on every single cubit. It's bigger. So when they get to that, because there's 3 temple levels, they get to that second, the first one they know, they get to the second to make sure that they understand this is not it. They know exactly what the measurements are of the rebuilt temple on top of Solomon's temple. So it's a map, it's a guide, it's a key to help us to understand when we actually get to that point that God prophesied. And I heard an amazing teaching on that 7th hand. 6 is the number for man. So man's hand breadth 6 times makes a cubit, which is a measurement by which a man will build. But everything that God asked to be built in the temple, the original in Solomon's temple, is an exact replica of the way it is in heaven, in the temple or the throne room in heaven. So the altar, the lamps, the ark, all the things that are there are the same as they are in heaven when they're built by the standard, by the measurements and everything that God gave them to do to build it. But the 7th hand breadth, 6 is the number for man. That 7th hand, that's God's hand. Now you're adding an eternal, with God's hand, in eternal permanence versus a temporary as we are as men. So the Noah's Ark was built, and now they can go and when they're able to excavate and dig it out, but it was built for an eternal purpose, a kingdom eternal purpose. That of the world, of this world, that of the earth will fade and wilt and dust and break and die and go away. But that of the kingdom is forever. So Solomon's temple was not destroyed, it was buried. And it's still there. When we do things, we need to be cognizant of that 7th hand. That 7th hand. Also, how perfect the scripture is when you look at when Elijah prayed for there to be a drought, no rain. And then he's now praying for there to be rain after the 3 years. He goes, okay, I'm going back and I'm praying for rain now. So as he's praying for rain, he asked his servant to go and look and see what he saw. So as he's praying, he says, go look. And he sent the servant. The servant goes and says, I saw nothing. And he says, okay, come back. He did that 6 times. The 7th time, he said, I saw a cloud in the shape of a hand. Father, thank you for your 7th hand and the eternal touch that you have in our lives. And I ask that you could just help us to use these measurements to understand what you have done versus what man has done, and that we can seek after that which is permanent, not that which is of the earth. And I pray for all this in Jesus' name.